constituted, and we are going to handle any questions and answers and input, as Mary said, as we go along. So the first one is our minutes, which has been circulated. It's been on our web. The committee has gone through them with a fine-tooth comb. We always dedicate 1 or 2 people to go through the minutes in detail, and they do that very thoroughly. So we are comfortable with it. Can I ask if there's anybody voting against the adoption of the minutes of the meeting that we had in August last year, our AGM? Nobody? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We then move on to my chairman's report. Well, chairman's report is literally about 2,000 words because it's been a very busy year. But once again, that's been circulated, and that's available. If you scan any of the QR codes that you see around, if you want to see our finances or any of the other detail, please look for the appropriate QR code, just scan it, and it'll immediately download to your phone from our website. It is also available on our website. Just a few comments on the chairman's report. It's been a very big year. It's been a very good year. We had a very strong AGM last year. The one big thing that happened at the AGM last year is that our chairman, Brian Boertes, announced that he was going to take a contract in the Cayman Islands and that I have to get back into the seat. So I took back over after stepping down for a year. But he did tell us then already when his leave is, and we've clustered this AGM around his leave. Now, it's one thing giving up your free time on a voluntary basis for an association like this. It's quite something else giving up your holiday time. So, Brian, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Delighted to have you. Also, a big event that we had at the last AGM is there was a group of people from Ward 8 that attended our meeting. And they cornered us afterwards. And they said, whatever you guys are doing on this side of the highway, we need some of that on that side of the highway. And we were delighted to establish a wonderful relationship with the Business Forum and civil society guys sitting in the middle here that comes from Ward 8. And we'll tell you a bit more about that later. So Temba has been serving on our board as a co-opted, he's the chairman of the association, and he's been co-opted to our board, and tonight we're going to be voting him onto the board as such, but delighted to have representation from Okobongo here, and it's now spreading out to Shakaskraal and Shayamoya as well, but more about that a bit later. The other 2 big things that has happened in the last year is we've gone digital, like in a big way. So, as I said, having some young people on your committee gets you to do a lot of that kind of thing. So, number 1 is we've got a digital membership system, which is seamless, easy to operate directly on our website. And it takes quite a bit of planning to get that done. And to Mary and her team and everybody that was involved, and Tracy, thank you very much for helping to set that up. So that's the one thing that we did. The other one is we also decided to go with a social media partner, and we contracted a company called Big Fish, and they've been assisting us over the last few months, and it's been working like a charm. So we're managing to communicate a lot. 2 other things happened as well that I just want to highlight in my chairman's report. The one is my vice chairman, Stefan Maree, served during the year, but has decided to step down. He's relocating to another country in the Western Cape, in George. And Stefan, for your time, your effort, not only over the last year, but over a number of years with Docrra, we're really grateful and great that you could be here. I know that you traveled quite far to be here tonight, so thank you very much. The other person I'd like to recognize is Don Forbes. A lot of you may know Don. He was on our board from the beginning, early days, and he was really our godfather and taught us a lot about municipalities, municipal law, and things like that. I think old age got to him a bit and he couldn't move around that much. So Don decided to step down, but he insists on getting a bit of a feedback from us every now and then. So we give him a call, and during the elections or just thereafter, I had to give him a call and ask him some advice, as I did with Warwick as well. So we got some good feedback, and Donna's always there. So I would like a round of applause for Don Forbes spending many evenings. And then just to reiterate what Mary says, without you, our members, and especially without our committee, and that's the other thing that happened this year. On WhatsApp, we discovered this committee community kind of thing. So we've managed to formalize our subcommittees, of which we now got 14. We've got dedicated subcommittees by topic, and I'll go through all of them. And they're all clustered under one WhatsApp group. And I was astounded. If anybody asked me beforehand how many people are volunteering to work within the Docrra organization, I think the figure that came up in my head was about 14, 15. We count 43 at the moment, volunteers that are serving on various dedicated committees, which is fantastic. And all of those committees report into the main committee, but they are autonomous and they will handle whatever is important for them to handle, and they will feed back to us. And that's working very well for us. So on our chairman's report, those are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that I really wanted to highlight. But as I said, it is available. Anybody against us accepting the chairman's report? Thank you. Otherwise, I'd have to read the 2,000 words. Ladies and gents, our finances are in good shape. So once again, the financial report is up to be viewed. But there you could see what our total income was for the year. You could see what our expenditure is for the year. We have a very strict treasurer that keeps us very tightly to the budget. And we have to explain 3 times if we want to exceed that, which is good because you can see that we make a surplus, and we've been making a surplus for a number of years. So we are sitting on a balance, which if anything happens, and God forbid it does, we can carry on running the association for at least a 2-year period. So it's a going concern. What we're also very proud about is that we don't get sponsorship from anyone. We're totally member financed. And I just want to reiterate why that is important. It gives us leverage and it gives us independence. So we can speak up without fear of suddenly losing a sponsorship or suddenly losing a support from a company or any other external income, which makes us strong and independent. So we're very proud of the fact that we are totally self-funded through our membership fees, and a big thank you to all of you that support us. Can I move to accept our annual financial statements as presented? On the balance, is there anybody that votes against? Thank you very much. Dion, you're off the hook. We've done it. Ladies and gents, we've got to change our constitution somewhat. And the first 2 items, I'm just going to highlight why we're changing that, is that we would like to start expanding our membership growth and our impact in wards adjacent to us. So we're talking about Ward 8, we were talking about Ward 23, Ward 4, which is Shaka's Head, Shaka's Kraal, Shamoya, and Kobongo. And in order to do that, they don't have rateable properties. So our constitution used to say anybody that resides or owns a rateable property. So we are changing that to say anybody that resides in a residence. So that will then make it easier for us to be able to accommodate members that are not living in rateable property. So that's the one change. The other change is to change our geographical area, our footprint of what is the Dolphin Coast. Where does it go? And I know we had a discussion with Ty Jones about that the other day. What is our exact footprint? So for us, in order to go to these other wards and incorporate these other wards, we have expanded our footprint to east of the Isinembe Road. So that would be the road that goes through that power plant, goes up to Glendale. So it is really expanding it further than the R102. So in the past, it used to be from Zimbali up to Tinley Manor, the coast, obviously, and up to the R102. We now want to expand it further to include those other wards that I've just mentioned. So that's the other change that we have. And then we may find other areas where there are members that are wanting to join us. I don't know if we've got some representatives from Princess Grant here, but that's the furthest out at this stage that we have. But we may have other members that want to join us in that area. So we've got a clause there that says, and any other area that the committee deems necessary to do. The other one is we're just tightening up and streamlining our finances, just confirming that our investments will be with an accredited bank, and also to facilitate the signing of our documents. It's been very burdensome for Dion when he's away on leave or whatever, and it gets to month end that we have to transfer funds and move funds around. So that is really just to clean up that and to confirm that. So those are the main, there were a few other semantic ones and grammatic ones that we've changed, but those are the substantive items that we've changed in our constitution. And if I can ask if there's any discussion about that, anybody got a question or a suggestion? If not, then I'm going to take it as read. Anybody voting against the adoption of those amendments to our Constitution? Thank you very much. Motion is carried. Now the election of our committee, as I mentioned, Brian, although he's in the Cayman Islands and he's 6 hours different time zone, he does a tremendous amount of work for us still. So he still chairs our finance committee, which is our strongest committee and where we really put in a lot of effort. So Brian standing again, Dion Botha Richards, our treasurer, Hans Bruce, Vanessa Hannibal, Mary Kassam, Gabby Lau, Trevor Greiling, and Rob Shaw. Those were the members that we had. As I mentioned, we had co-opted back, and it was lovely to have Flip back. Flip took a sabbatical for a year, then he missed us terribly, and we nagged him to come back, and we, Flip, very glad to have you back. And we also had, as I said, Temba, who we had co-opted on our committee. In addition to that, Brian Pottinger has become known to us, and we're very keen, and I'm very glad that Brian has agreed to stand on our board as well and to join us. Brian is very busy with the environmental subcommittee and quite a few other areas as well. What really helps is that he's got a very good working knowledge of understanding Zulu. So he's going to come to meetings with Hans and me because we really struggle to understand and decipher. So Brian, wonderful to have you with us. And then John Wallace. Now we have 12 people on our board, but we're very keen to include John. John, who's been doing some great work on both our electrical subcommittee and our infrastructure subcommittee. So we're very keen to co-opt him. So with your approval, that will then be our new board, 12 members that are elected, and then John Wallace that will be co-opted as an additional member to our board. That'll make us 13, and we could work with that. Thank you very much. Anybody voting against that? Motion's carried, guys. We're going to have to do this until we get it right. So welcome to the new committee. Delighted to have you all there. So ladies and gents, that then concludes our AGM. 15 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm moving on to our current membership, and I did do this and Mary's mentioned it as well, but we're delighted that we've eventually reached the 6,000 mark of memberships. Having said that, we need to understand, and I've spoken to Julius about it, who's got a lot of experience on residents and ratepayers associations. We've achieved that uniquely because we've signed up estates. And that was a business strategy that we took up from the beginning to get estates to sign up that gave us traction and gave us clout and gave us membership on a very expeditious kind of basis. And I hope that that message gets carried to the rest of the country, because I think that works very well. Certainly it works for us. And I was glad to see Ken Lever arrive. Ken was the chairman when I joined up with the association at that time. Ken, isn't it amazing if we look at this now and how we struggled in those days. We struggled to get 5 people to serve on a committee. I think we had some 200,000 Rand in the bank, and we maybe have had 300 or 400 members at the time. And it's delightful to see how it has grown, and we thank you all for that, and it gives us a lot of clout and a lot of impact when we go and represent your voice. Those are the names of the estates, but it's already out of date because 2 estates, I think, has joined us in the last two or 3 days, and we finished this presentation before the weekend. So we're delighted to have them. There's still a number of estates and a number of body corporates. We're very keen to have body corporates join. So if you have got any leads for us or anybody that we can go and talk to, we're very comfortable to come and speak to a body corporate. And we are now at this time doing feedback at the various estates. We're doing one at Zambiti shortly. I've got a slot at Brettonwood on the 8th. We've done one at Zambali. We've done one on Princess Grant earlier this week. So we do like to go and visit our estates and give them the various bits of feedback. We are very proud of the fact that we collaborate with a lot of people. And I think we all know that the Dolphin Coast is blessed with a plethora of civil society initiatives and structures, each obviously having its own area of expertise and its own focus. And what we would like to do is to help collaborate and work with all those different parties. So the Auditor General, we've got a very good relationship with, and whenever Martin's in town, what helps is that him and Brian worked together before, so we get an opportunity to buy him a cup of coffee, and we could have a very open and frank conversation. The Belito UIP is Belito UIP. We have to consult every now and then and ask for their help. And the Neighborhood Watchers, community policing forums, and I'm delighted to see that you're all present here tonight. We, as Docrra, don't try and do much around security and safety, except if it is representing an opinion or an issue at the council, and we have been helping to subsidize and fund some of the initiatives as well, because we've got the specialists and we've got people that know what they're doing. So no sense for us to try and go and mingle in that. Then the Community Against Pollution. Paolo, it's good to have you with us. It's an independent, strong organization that looks after clean air, and we've brought that under our environmental committee. Once again, no point in duplicating any initiatives. And within that, I know that water and water can is one of your big things. So water can has been adopted and goes into our sustainable committee as well, Julius. So that is where we do that. Dolphin Coast Conservancy, everybody knows Di Jones, and we would love to strengthen our collaboration and grow that with you, Di, as we go forward. The Ilembe Chamber of Business, Kobus, I haven't seen him here. I don't think he could make it tonight. So we meet with Kobus quite regularly, because when we put in a presentation on the finances and the budget, it doesn't make sense for us to do that in isolation and not have the business component collaborate with us. And sometimes they will tackle issues that we won't, and we will tackle some issues that they don't. But then it becomes a synergistic approach. And I think you're going to see that going forward, and you'll pick up that when we talk about co-governance a little bit more. Then we formed an organization called Docrra. And Docrra stands for the Quadakuza Organized Residents Alliance. So these are independently constituted organizations that go about their own business. But when it gets to putting forward our 45 questions that Brian gives us, and then he teaches me how to ask them properly because they're finance related. But when we go and present that, we present that on behalf of Docrra, not on behalf of Docrra. So we actually represent the whole area right up to Zinkwazi on those issues, because they are issues that affect all of us. When you get to the ward-based issues, obviously each organization does their own. So also delighted that we could have the ICAM involved, which is the Ilembe Community Action Movement, a fairly new organization. Walter, are you here? Walter, there he is. Okay, Walter, lovely to have you with us. And then also the Quadakuza Residents Forum. Lovely to have Warwick Chapman with us. We collaborate with them as well. Tinley Manor, Blythe, Dowlands, and Quasi. Quadakuza Municipality, we obviously are recognized, or Docrra is recognized as a representative stakeholder of the municipality, of the community. And as such, we qualify for a seat on each ward committee. So we're very pleased to play quite an active role with our councillors. There are all three here today, tonight, on their ward committees. And we're hoping to do so, Palani, into your ward committees as well. Because as Docrra members, whether you're on this side of the road or that side of the road, we're the same Docrra, and we would like to have a seat on your ward committees if we can find them. But we will keep looking. There's a KZN residents and ratepayers WhatsApp group, mainly made up of the poor folk in Mzunduzi, Pietermaritzburg, and the other poor folk at eThekwini. And there are probably 40 or 50 residents and ratepayers associations on that. But Brian and myself are on that committee as well. And all I can say to you is, guys, we are so blessed in this part of the world where we're living. If we have to compare what those people are coping with and the challenges that those residents and ratepayers associations have, is just immense. So we learn a lot from them and we share with them as well. And then the Organization Undoing Tax Abuse. Julius and I have become good friends over a year or two now, and we consult with one another, and we have a regular chat while he's driving home on a Friday afternoon and I'm having my first wine about a lot of issues. So I learn a lot from you guys, and we're delighted to have an affiliation with you. Provincial government, hopefully we're going to be able to establish a better relationship now with the GNU and the new provincial government that we have, because it's really been a struggle up to here. So we've written to them. One of the brand new alliances that we have is the Rise Up movement. You know the Rise Up movement very well. Josh is here tonight, and we've brought Rise Up movement into our outreach initiative, and we're assisting to find them a permanent home where they can house their officers and their call center. They do fantastic work. A big shout out to the Rise Up movement. Thank you. And then Salt Rock Neighborhood Watch and the South African Police Services. We have a wonderful new station commander. We've met with Colonel Kulu, I think I pronounce it right, Hans. And she's very supportive, and we work with them. So those are our key alliance partners that we collaborate with. We're not an island on our own. Now I'd like to get to one of the reasons that we've got this community conversation, is that we would like to share ideas. We would like to get input, and we'd like to show that a diverse group of interests can actually work together when we are faced with challenges. And as Mary said in the beginning, we've been a very resilient community. Recent tornado is another example where we had to have a challenge and everybody had to go and try and assist. We're very proudly non-political, and we're very proudly non-religious. As I mentioned already, independent funding. We are recognized, as I've mentioned, by KDM Municipality. Mary even took it a step further. I thought it was a bit of a cheek of hers, but she managed to do it. So we are now on the circulation list. When anything from the municipality gets sent to the newspapers or press releases, we get it at the same time as the newspapers get it. So we've got a bit of a head start on when new bylaws are promulgated and so on. Collaborate with alliance partners to avoid duplication. We share resources and so on. But here comes the big topic, and that's where I want to go ask Julius just now to come and weigh in for us as well. And that is that as our country is now going into coalition territory as far as political parties are concerned, and what a miracle it was that we achieved that. I'm very chuffed and very hopeful of what's happening at a national level and at provincial level. However, in this coalition environment, we are wondering and waiting to see how that will pan out and work on a local level. And research has been done, and this I got from Julius, that the most effective local government structures work on what they call a co-governance basis. So there's a Professor van Biljon in Bloemfontein University that did a worldwide research on this, and she's done a paper on it, where she's gone around the world and in South Africa as well and looked at what kind of municipality works best. And what they came up with, and there were various different models, is a model called co-governance. And co-governance essentially means that you work together as civil society and business with government to deliver the services that you want. Now, not by design, but by good fortune, we already have some of that in the Dolphin Coast. First one I want to mention is Caesar Water. So having a public-private partnership of only 2 in the country, where you buy water from the government and a private sector company, public-private partnership, then distributes that water, looks after and manages the sewerage, looks after the maintenance of the water reticulation that comes to our properties, and a company that we can actually speak to and ask questions and get feedback from. Where's Kobus? There he is. And he's always available. So that is already a sign of a co-governance kind of concept. That contract is obviously coming up for renewal, as we all know. One of Stefan's big things that he did for us is establish a very good relationship with the management of Caesar Water, and also worked with Vutela, which is a consulting firm, who are working at trying to make sure that this contract or this concept doesn't come to an end at the end of another 4-year contract. So very encouraging. At a roadshow that we had a while back, we met with the Lembe municipal manager, and we were quite impressed with him when we asked him the question, what's going forward? And he gave us a very, very sensible answer. He said, we mustn't talk about the extension of Caesar Water contract. We should talk about how are we going to expand the excellence and the improved service to a wider audience, and what role can private sector play in that? Is it from buying the water to distributing, or is it the billing component or the maintenance component or whatever? Because for as long as you're going to have a good service on one side and a bad service on the other side, you're going to always have a standoff and a problem. So how can we spread it a bit wider? And that kind of thinking was very encouraging. So we're really hoping, and we'll be watching that space, and we'll be close to that. Similarly, with Dolphin Coast Waste Management, don't you just like the street sweepers and our cleaner streets? I mean, they're fantastic. So a big shout out to Dolphin Coast Waste Management, but that is another example of a private sector company that's providing a service on behalf of the municipality. The municipality pays for it, but on behalf of the municipality to our specific area. So those are 2 critical things. Water, waste. That is already in a co-governance space that we have, and we must cherish that and keep working on that. Then I'd like to touch on safety and security initiatives, and a big shout out to everybody here, and there are many of you that work in that area. Going back a couple of years, our GBOC chairman, Warwick, is here as well when we had all those insurrections. But if you go back to December 2019, and you remember what happened at our beaches, and the mayhem and the drinking and the fighting and so on that happened then we had the COVID period, so we had different legislation that assisted us. But subsequent to that, and recently as 2 weeks ago, we had the Belito Pro. And yes, there are some noise disturbances and so on. But if you go back and listen, look at what the Belito Pro caused 2 or 3 years ago, and how the safety and security initiatives are managing that at the moment. So here's our first example of a great collaboration and co-governance where the South African police services, the Metro Police, the community policing forums, the neighborhood watches, and the private security companies all pull together. And they sit down and they argue and they come up with a plan. And they implement that plan, and they keep us safe and they keep us secure. So our aim is to see where and how can we expand that in other areas as well, not just that. But safety and security, and I think I was in a radio interview yesterday with Penny, and you need a lot of energy if you want to go on a radio interview with Penny. And Penny made a remark that, you remember years back we were talking about safety and security. Now we're talking about service delivery, no longer safety and security. Yes, of course, we've got incidents. But if you look pro rata and the nature of the incidents and the size of the incidents and whatever they are certainly way, way less than anybody else is experiencing in many other parts of the country, and certainly our neighbors as well. The last one is a very proud one, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more, is our outreach initiatives. And I see a lot of soup suppliers, follow my eyes, and supporters. So that's fantastic. We will be looking at, I'm going to do a dedicated slide on that. But that's another area of potential collaboration. Because at the moment, we're already doing 10,000 meals a month that we are distributing into more disadvantaged areas. And by doing so, we're establishing goodwill, we're establishing relationships, and we are opening up opportunities to collaborate. So we need to, and still have to, get Department of Social Welfare of the municipality and the disaster recovery guys of the municipality to understand and recognize what we're doing, and let's work with them, rather than us working here and them looking at us working there. That leads me into Julius. Julius, I've already given you a little bit of an introduction, but I'm really delighted, knowing how full your life is, that you would get on a plane, leave your wife and 3 lovely boys at -4 this morning to be here with us for tonight, and to maybe share with us what's happening in Docrra in the co-governance space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Dion, and thanks, everyone. Yeah, so that -4 is not just before 4 o'clock. It was -4 degrees this morning when I left there in Johannesburg. So it was lovely to come here, Pretoria weather. I might just contemplate moving here for winters. But anyway, it's lovely to be here. Thanks for your time. So, you know, if you don't go too long ago, if you looked at a councillor, and the councillors are really fulfilling a role, I think that a lot of the times we don't really appreciate them. You know, they become a soundboard, and we pack off a lot of information and queries and complaints to them. But not too long ago, they were volunteers. Today it's a career. And I have to emphasize and start with that, because if you look in South Africa, back in the day, these volunteers were elected. They were professional people giving their own time in their own capacity, and they served their community proudly. Then it changed. It became a remunerated job. Still, these community members served their communities proudly, and I'm sure those here tonight are still doing the same thing. It also is a fact that a lot of these councillors in South Africa don't do that. They serve it for a career, a political career. Now, if you think about a business and your career in the corporate world, the value you add in climbing that ladder in your career gets you to the top. The value you add to that company opens the doors to get to the top. The reason I'm saying this is the political space today has opened the corporate ladder and a door to get to the top of a political party, and it's what value you're adding to that party. And I think that's where public service has really lost the plot over the last decade, and we see that. So there's a lot of hope in the canoe. But the reason I'm saying this is to give you context. These community members have to serve, and I think you said 43 volunteers here today. A councillor cannot fix a ward or address a community on their own. As Dion mentioned earlier, it is very important to understand the different dynamics that's happening in the world. The most successful municipalities compared to the worst. Now, there's 3 different scenarios. The one municipality, you pay for a service and you get it. It happens in a lot of first world countries. The second is where you've got to say. So you've got to say that, listen, we want this new development, or we think the budget needs to focus a bit more on water supply, but you're still paying for a service and you get it. Then the third component is where communities have a say They pay for it, but also they are physically involved in the decision-making, the problem-solving, and getting things done on grassroots level. Not one of these councillors can be in tune with everything that's happening in a ward at any given time. In fact, if you're at the headquarters of Kwadukuza municipality, you don't necessarily know that there's different dynamics in different communities to address those needs and issues. That's where the concept of co-governance comes from. It's very important to understand that in a community, such as in this hall, we all have different ideas. We all have different expertise. We can all add value to solve a specific problem. So that collaboration is really crucial for the success and the future of South Africa. Now, I think this is commendable for Docrra. Docrra finds itself in a position where it started to playing this role of collaboration, but also having some oversight, pulling in the experts and creating a bit more of an engaging partnership within council, understanding what the financials are, asking the difficult questions, and consistently engaging on what they believe should happen in this community. You know, flying out this morning, coming here, you made the joke of flying, someone's leaving to go to George, it's a different country. This is a different country. You know, I've met up with one of my staff members quick before the session. He stays in eThekwini. And we spoke about crime. And I said, yo, you know, I had a nice little jog here quickly before the session. I felt safe, it's clean, things are working here. And he said, Julius, you know what? Sadly, eThekwini is becoming more like Joburg. You know, it's not so safe. There's a lot of shootings, things are happening. And I was just thinking, you know, what's the difference between eThekwini and, yeah, it's not far apart. It's this. It's exactly this. If you look at other municipalities throughout the country, and I don't know how many of you have been away and visiting some of these towns, things are falling apart. You guys are really blessed, are the words that Dion has used. But intentionally so, because you are active, you are engaging, you are doing co-governance already. There's some examples and how you can elaborate on that. Co-governance is the future of South Africa. We cannot depend on the political dynamics of the country, where people are voted out with no confidence and the leadership changes. Whenever someone else in political power comes in and a whole administration comes to a halt, and the budgets gets allocated according to that political will. Municipalities don't have any political ideology. It is there to provide basic services, and that's it. It's not there to create jobs and an economy. It's there to create the infrastructure so that businesses can stimulate economic growth. And that's why it's so important. Each one of you have a vested interest. We don't invest in a country, we invest in a community, a municipality, where we stay, where we live, our kids go to school too, and that's where our businesses are. So I want to encourage you to do more, and there's three things that I'd like to leave with you, and that is in community building. When I say co-governance is the future of the country, it means that we need to be active, consistently engaging, building relationships, building partners with those good officials, and ensuring that whoever comes into power don't necessarily have much of a say because the community is so well organized. And I love the fact that you are broadening your reach and actually including other communities, because that's where the power lies. If you guys can start building the right relationships and ensuring that everyone gets equitable access to the basic services. And that's where the 3 T's of community building comes in. Who of you don't have any money in your bank account? Raise your hand. I knew if I asked how many of you do, you would not. Every one of us have something. Every one of us have talent. You know, you had Dion spoke in front of all of you. Not all of us can do that. Some of us are accountants. How many of you are engineers? Please raise your hands. Engineers. No engineers here. Kwadukuza, there's some hands. You see, there the hands come up. How many of you are in accounting, finances? See the hands come up. How many of you are in security services or business innovation and like that? No one. There we go. We've got hands. There's different talents. And who of us don't have an hour, at least once a quarter, to give? Raise your hand. Each of us have time, tithe, can contribute some money, and a talent that we can give. And that's what life's all about. It's about relationships and character and how we can help serve. So please use those 3 T's. Remember those 3 T's and get active. Become part of Docrra. And I hope that we can see continuity, because you guys are setting a fantastic example and a case study for myself at OUTA to also foster and share your successes with the rest of South Africa. And basically, just to give someone perspective in closing, what we're trying to do from the organization on doing tax abuse, those who don't know who we are, the e-toll people who tried to stop the e-tolls, or the Gupta leaks got leaked to us and we built all the cases. And now we're looking at local government. We're trying to see how we can build co-governance and active communities to start changing the ship around of our failing and decaying municipalities. So we're trying to build a network of like-minded organizations and individuals such as yourselves throughout the whole country, where poor father doesn't have to go pay the school fees that you have paid already, but that they can actually learn from you. Where tidy towns can share their successes with people in Joburg. We are building a network, and we hope and trust that the collaboration and active communities will change and unlock the potential of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Julius, thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to allow some questions. Anybody got a question for Julius to talk about OUTA, anything that they're doing at OUTA? Maybe I'll start with the first question. You guys have expanded this collaboration with residents and ratepayers in Johannesburg recently, because Johannesburg, we go there, our kids and our grandkids live there. Joburg is broken. And they tell us a bit about that initiative, how you're going about doing that.
Okay, thank you. Very good question. So basically what we've done is we've engaged with all the different organized communities, residents associations, from the south to the north, right through. And we started building a network, introducing neighbors to neighbors. Sadly, residents associations that are next to each other don't know each other. And very quickly, one could see the dynamics of people having problems and others sharing their successes in that same forum. And people asking, hey, who did you contact on addressing the issue of illegal advertising? And they could share best practices and successes with each other. So you're fostering community building and relationships. The other thing that we started looking at is engaging with the officials in the city. There are a lot of good people that are so frustrated because I think there's been something like 4 or 5 different mayors in the last 2 years. You cannot manage a city like that. And as I've said, as an official, you need to do your job. You've got a budget. You've got performance agreements you need to adhere to. Every time that political change comes, everything comes to a halt completely. And it gets changed. And it doesn't matter because there's no sense of accountability. So we started creating and duplicating some of the work that Docrra has been doing. Having oversight in council meetings, analyzing the finances, asking the difficult questions. Thankfully, we've got access to a lot of powerful entities, such as yourselves, with the AG, working closely with them, and testing different scenarios and how we can hold individuals in the city and political powers to account. Further to that, we started creating a full-time capacity. So we got these residents associations to come and start funding it. And I think it's still something that I'd like to encourage Docrra to consider, because we believe that monthly contributions creates more sustainability so that you can grow faster and do more work. Now, if you compare Joburg or Hartbeespoort or somewhere like that, that's completely falling apart to Kwarakuza, it's difficult because things are going very well here. You don't have to necessarily fix a lot of potholes yourselves. You don't necessarily have to run to court to force the government to do something. But in those scenarios, we have to start creating that capacity to do such things. So we also have strategic litigation that we're starting to do, which will hopefully create precedent-setting cases so that communities such as yourself can just go and say, listen, you have to do this because here's the proof in the pudding. And if you don't, this is going to be the consequences. So we playing with some of those scenarios.
Thank you, Julius. Thank you very much. Any others? Yes, Walter. Is it Walter? Yeah. Do you just want to come and the mic is up here? Sorry. Thank you, Walter.
Thanks. So, Julius, you touched on something now when you were talking about that litigation and having the capacity to repair things on your own, because that's what I was going to ask you. I listened to Wayne speak on co-governance, and it took it to a point where you would give municipality a notice, there's a pothole or something in 7 days, whatever, I don't know, I can't remember the timeframes, and if they didn't go ahead and repair it, etc., you'd do it, and then you'd bill them. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, so that's an example of one of the test cases that we are looking into. So there's a lot of steps you have to go through. You know, if you want to build relationship, you want to fix things together. In fact, some of the examples that Docrra has shown is this: a municipality doesn't have to provide a service. It's got the ability to externalize a service to a local organization or a private company, so that you can do that work. The last resort is they don't want to do it, regardless. You know, that's what we're finding in the city of Johannesburg now. To give you perspective, the city of Johannesburg's got 14,000 kilometers of road. They have budgeted to resurface 100 kilometers per year. It will take them 72 years to resurface all the roads. Now you can just think, that's going to be gravel roads in 4 or 5 years from now in the economic hub of the country. It's not right. So one has to start looking at extreme measures to take to force the government to do its job, and that's what we're looking at. What comes with it is fruitless litigation. So, because I know people are going to say, but that's not sustainable. How can you go and fix something and then claim it back from the city? Fruitless litigation is the next step after that, because you will not change municipal administration or the political will, if there's not individuals being held to account and paying out of their personal pockets for it. Just to conclude, pollution, waste, sewage waste is a big issue in the country, in all municipalities, most. And it's a criminal offense, Dion, if you were to pollute a natural water resource. In fact, you can be fined up to 5 million rand or 10 million rand for a second, and you can go 5 to 10 years to jail. We've seen our first municipalities found guilty for pollution. Guess what happened? They got fined. Who pays for that? The residents. So one has to ensure that you attach that bill at the end of the day on fruitless litigation from the accounting officer, who then has to pay the cost of the litigation side of things out of their own pocket.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Walter. Julius, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thanks everyone for listening and for your time. I appreciate it. Oh, that's it. I see there's another hand there.
Yes, sorry. Go, Ken. If you can just stand here so we can record it.
Julius, thanks very much for that. And we understand the ins and outs, and obviously collaboration and cooperation is obviously the first prize. However, when that doesn't work and we get to the end of our tether, can you tell us about the pros and cons of withdrawing or withholding rates? Thanks.
Thank you. That's a very interesting one. I think it depends on communities and where you are. So that's there's a variety of mechanisms that one has to follow. We're looking at one now. It's a Section 77 review on performance of a specific service. So it gives you the ability to cost municipalities service delivery and then to challenge it on that basis. Should that be found that they cannot deliver the service, they have to look at an alternative. So it's actually in municipal legislation, and we're looking at a test case now to force that to happen. So we don't believe that a rates boycott is the answer. In fact, it's got such negative consequences that can happen. We believe that there's better ways of doing it. And I just want to give you some insight on co-governance. When a community is organized enough, this is a long game. A rates boycott is also just a short-term intervention. You have the ability to elect who needs to stand in office next, because that's the political dynamics we need to ensure that is intact in future. So hopefully we'll see those standing in office elected from organized structures as this in the future. And I'm not speaking on behalf of Dion, it's not the conversation we've had. But currently, the problem in our municipality is political. It's not necessarily administrative. And for as long as that doesn't change, we're going to have to look at these alternatives that you're talking about in the future. But we are definitely not advocating for that in particular. We're looking at alternatives.
Thank you. Ken, thank you very much. Julius, thank you very much.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Rob.
Yeah, no, this thing is not on.
There
Or is
it
on?
is.
Oh, he had to turn it on. Sorry. What do you think the influence of the new GNU is going to be on national and provincial level for our municipality here in the KDM?
Thank you. Thanks. I'm not a political analyst, but I think it is. We've already seen some positive moves, I believe. We've seen, let me just put it like that. Strategically, it will be political suicide for this GNU not to infiltrate municipalities. So there will definitely be a political shift from province to start controlling local structures. The local elections is in 2 years from now. So I'm sure that you'll see some surprises that the GNUs will work themselves through to a local level. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you. Julius, we're already in a coalition situation in this area. So the one controlling party had 49% of the vote, so they're already in a coalition. And there's exactly what you say, after something big like that, council meetings, people are not attending, councillors are not attending. It's a bit of a gemors at the moment. So hopefully that will settle soon and we'll see that GNU coming through. But Julius, once again, thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gents, it's now my privilege to call on Brian Botha to give us a quick overview on finances and what we've been up to. Brian. Brian, donkey, well done.
Sorry, I didn't get the memo on the dress code. Oops. I'll remember next year. But it was a warm day, and I'm a retired guy, or sort of retired guy. So
you come from it.
And I'm on the island, so I thought I was on the beach. I was close enough. So KDM's performed well in this last year. So despite the CFO not being there, it's still got money in the bank, still got a surplus. I know there are things like the 1.2 billion rand that was received that they now need to apply for the final rollover of that. We don't know the answer to that yet. I think they had about 400 million rand still to spend out of that 1.2 billion, if I recall. It's not something I've tackled the returning CFO on yet, but we'll see in the July council meeting how far they've got with convincing Treasury to keep that money. Yeah, most of it's probably going to be used outside of our areas. As you know, we got our roads redone quite early in last year when that 1.2 billion rand was received. So I don't think we're going to see much action here. I know there's some roadworks done in Zen Drive, stormwater. There's some stormwater drains done up at Ward 30 there, close to where Gabby is. So a lot of stuff's been done, still to be done. So we hope we can keep the bulk of that money, or the council can keep the bulk of that money to spend, together with the 2025 budget of 286 million rand. Yeah, so Shamir's back. He shouldn't have gone in the first place. We all know that. So he's back, and he can now hopefully extract all the chochos that happened in the year that he wasn't there, and point the AG towards them and say it's not my fault, and this looks odd. So hopefully he's going to be doing that. He's got a big job in his hands now to consolidate his department again. I don't think he lost too much knowledge. He's been there for many, many years. So it's good to have him back, and hopefully he'll turn it around. As I say, financially, it's all good at KDM. There's money in the bank. They show surpluses every year, and there's, it's just the 400 million that we've got to try and retain. Whoops. So after that little bit of excitement, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So the KDM still does show a surplus. As we know, it was the top performing municipality in KZN and about 7th in the country, if I recall. Has a collection rate, that's of you and me paying our electricity, refuse, and rates of 95%. That's one of the highest in the country. The top rated municipality last year was Saldanha, and they were also at 95%. So KDM's right up there. Shamir told me over a cup of coffee last week that his aim is to be #1 in the country before he retires. And he was going to retire early, but he's now happy to extend his stay, probably in about 5 years' time. And I mean, that's great for you and me. Obviously, with a bit of co-governance with Dolphin Coast Waste and Caesar, will help retain that relationship. Overall performance has a little bit of improvement on 2022. Again, an unqualified audit report. And he's looking to get that as a clean audit report, not unqualified with some findings. Electricity losses, Privy, Tammy, and Jack know all those problems. I think at the half year it was sitting at 175 million. So at double that for the year end, it's going to be 350 million plus. They're hoping to bring that down substantially in the 2025 year. That was the same hope they had 2024, 23, 22, 21. Hasn't happened. It's gone the wrong way. But as you can see, there's money in the bank. There was 1.8 billion rand at the end of 2023, so that's a year back. But that was when the 1.2 billion had been received and not yet spent. I don't know I'll see the figure in a week or so's time. And net current assets, so that's debtors, creditors, cash in the bank, etc., 759 million. So our municipality is strong. Shamir's back. They've appointed a civils director, so things are looking good at KDM. Thanks, Stephen.
There's still some, maybe just talk about impact.
Impact is the one forum that we are allowed to attend, so we can scrutinize the previous year's financial statements. So once the Auditor General's done his work, around about October, November, he reports, and then in about January, Council releases the annual report and with all the performance figures and the like attached to it, and we can start asking some detailed questions, which we do, and we raise a whole lot of questions on impact, which they are then forced to answer. And the political parties do the same thing. And we attend the meetings where they then give us answers to those questions. Sometimes the answer is not exactly what you want to hear, and you have a chance to ask again. But we do that, and that's quite a good oversight. We have some good councillors in that subcommittee, and do a good job, keep them on their toes. So I wasn't at Impact this year. Dion and the rest were there, but we did our job, did the oversight. And you can find those questions on, I don't know if they are on our website, but they're certainly in the annual report.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned, that's one of our subcommittees that does a lot of work, and I'd like to thank and welcome Bradley J. and Russell Addison that's joined that group. Stefan that also helped to attend some of those impact meetings, but we have a strong analysis group and looking forward to growing that going forward. So thank you very much, Brian. We're moving on to KDM performance. Brian did mention that we've gone from 57% to 77% of a year. I remember starting 5 years ago, and there's some of you here that we were together at the time, the delivery was 43%. So moving from 43 to 77 is definitely improvement. And we hope that we played a small part in asking all the questions and moving them to the right direction. Similarly, our budget this year that got presented was probably the most austere budget that we could have hoped for. 5% increase on rates and taxes, a subsidized electricity increase. NERSA's suggestion was 12.9, and the actual increase is 10%, so the municipality is funding that difference. And then water was coming in at waste, I think, at 7%. And if you consider that that's fuel cost and labor cost coming in at 7%, that's not bad at all. Water was the high one, and water is going to remain the high one because there's a lot of water losses happening in the ground because of lack of maintenance, but also people not paying. So overall, we had a good budget. And once again, I'd like to believe that the pressure that Brian and his team and that we've all put to bear over a number of years now. One of our biggest concerns is underspending. If you're going to budget for 100 Rand, collect 95 Rand, as we now see, 95% collection, why are you only spending 75 Rand or 85 Rand? I must confirm that the budget does not disappear. It goes into a reserve account. But Brian's always made the argument, why do we have to pay for something that goes in a reserve account that we're going to get sometime in the future? So if you are going to budget for 100 Rand, you're going to collect 95 Rand, at least spend 90 Rand. Yes, by all means, have a bit of a buffer, but spend 90 Rand. So that's our big fight. And that we're talking millions. We're talking 200 million a year that is not spent that we've been giving. Our biggest issues is, at the moment, the current status of council. It's a bit of a gemors. Council meetings are not taking place. I'm concerned about the lack of oversight. I know our councillors are here, they're doing their best. But, if a good 40% of the people don't even pitch and put in leave and don't come to a council meeting, or council meetings have to be cancelled. There's been about 3 in the last 2 months that's had to be cancelled. And when councillors stand up and walk out when there's a vote, so that they can't be, it's just not working. And what worries us is that the administrators are so well established there, they hunting on, and they're doing their thing like they want to do. There's no oversight and control. So we really have our work cut out for us, and I hope that we'll have a settled council in the not too distant future. Performance management is eventually becoming an item. So both the mayor and Docrra and the Auditor General and the chairman of the Performance Committee from the Internal Audit Committee are slamming the municipality for the lack and poor performance management. So you have to start with performance management, because if somebody's not performing, then you can move on to consequence management. Now, to get the statistics right, we're catching everybody stealing a cup of tea or a tea bag, but the guys stealing the millions are getting away. But at least then we can say we've done consequence management. We've had so many people that have been dismissed or disciplinary processes or whatever the case is. We've got to get the consequence management to happen at the right level. And we are working with the various structures to try and ensure that. But it's certainly coming up a lot more, and people are speaking about it. Governance issues are still remaining, and our biggest issues for governance is at the procurement stage, specifically in electricity, roads, and items of a capital nature. And how it happens is the money that we pay is secure. So Brian and I can, the 31 accounts that the municipality has is probably audited, and the Auditor General knows that the money is there. The money that's coming in as grants or flood relief money that then goes out to a tender to build a bridge or to build a stormwater or whatever, that is where the problem lies. And not with all the companies, but selected companies. So that is where, so at least we know where to go and focus. That's the area that we're focusing on at the moment. And we've got a couple of cases that we're working on, both ourselves that Brian is researching, and various other structures, but I don't want to talk about that too much, but there is definitely working happening there. To go back, the informal settlements in our area is another big problem. So the informal settlement happening in the western area, the one in Tafeni, there are many of these informal settlements. Our problem with that is our municipality is wanting to do something about it, but there is a foreign-funded organization that contracts lawyers that assists the illegal people that move into those specific areas. And they then tie us up, and they tie the municipality up in courts. So there's nothing that can be done at the moment in that Ward 4 area, in that Sharkers Head area. It's gone to court. It's now waiting for resolution there. But we've got to stop those informal settlements before they begin. And they begin on government-owned land, either land that's owned by KDM or land that's owned by Transnet or some other government structure. And the minute that happens, just to clarify, Shaka Z happened during the COVID period because there was a special legislation at that time, the security legislation, whatever that law was that Docrra brought in at the time, and you couldn't evict people. So you couldn't take them off the land. You had to allow them to stay, and that's how they got vested. We attend all stakeholder meetings. They become very exciting sometimes, but there's at least 1 or 2 a month that we try and attend and get to. They get advertised. You often get invited. Brian Pottinger is here tonight. We got invited on Monday for a meeting this morning, on Wednesday morning. No, I think it was Tuesday. Tuesday we got invited for a meeting on Wednesday. So that is par for the course, and we've learned to live with that and quickly see who's available to go and attend those meetings. We attend the council meetings. It's a bit like a bit of a cocktail party beforehand because we can greet all the executive directors, whisper something in their ear, have a bit of an engagement and so on, and then we've got to go take our chair and sit quietly against the wall and listen to what's happening. But it's most interesting, and it's interesting to watch all the different political parties standing up and doing their thing. So it's very rewarding. We have a quarterly executive meeting that we've managed to create with our municipality where we determine the agenda. So quarterly, it takes a lot of nagging, but we do get a meeting, and then there's the mayor, the speaker, the municipal manager, the COO, and all the executive directors. And depending on what questions we ask them, we send that 2 weeks beforehand, they prepare the answers. So we can discuss the answers to the questions that we've prepared. So it makes it a very effective meeting. Great was their shock when at the second or third time we got there, we had a matters arising column. What you promised last time, we want to go first through that, because that wasn't something that they were used to. We'd always start with a new meeting, a new agenda. We forget about what we promised last time. So now 80% of that meeting is going through our long list of matters arising of what you said you would be doing. So productivity improvement is the big challenge. We received a Most Active Ratepayers Association award. Also, once again, I think we had 2 days notice or 3 days notice. I was away. I couldn't attend it. Flip, thank you very much for attending it. I'm glad that you attended it because you could at least more or less fit in that jacket that they gave us. I definitely wouldn't have been able to fit in it. But we were pleased to be recognized by the municipality as the most active Ratepayers Association. So that was quite chuffed. Thank you. Any questions on the municipality?
Chair?
Yes, sir. Ken.
I'll ask a couple. Leave that list up, please.
I beg your pardon?
Leave the list on
I will
the
do.
board. 2 questions. One for Brian and possibly, I don't know, possibly John Wallace. A specific question. We're having today the 6th full day power cut in Ward 6 and Ward 30 because of work being done on the substation at the top of Townsend Park. Now, I fully support the idea, fully support the whole rationale of preventive maintenance. Good, first class, well done, KDM. But what on earth is going on? Can somebody explain? Why have we now had 6 days in a row of 8 hours, and today is a 10-hour power cut in the old Belito area? That's the first question. Can anybody answer that one who's here? So next question is related to informal settlements, and the corollary to that, of course, is KDM's performance in terms of housing. What are they doing? What have they produced? What is the waiting list like? How many houses have been built this year? Blow all, to be quite frank. But anyway, it's, informal settlements and a lack of decent housing go together. And we have to, all of us residents here, have to understand that we're living on a time bomb in this area. Thank you, Chair.
Ken, thank you very much. Just on the informal housing, that is the informal housing, structured housing, human settlements. That is on our executive meeting every day and every time. So we keep getting promises of flux rate. Is it flux rate or sonce rate? Which is a whole tract of land that's been identified. Another problem area is Rocky Park, which we've already referred to for further investigation because we think that some bad practices happened there. But you are quite right. And here's where the nub of that is, Ken. It is that the funding for that comes from both national and provincial structures and not through the municipality. So the collaboration between different levels of government departments is where the problem lies. And the municipality... Absolutely. So there are various other solutions being given. The one that I found very creative was once you identify an area of land for this kind of development, that they're going to develop platforms, foundations, the roads, the water, the electricity, and everybody comes and build their own house. So moving away from the RDP kind of concept, so that you now have a platform, it's much easier to provide in an organized, laid out town planning fashion, and people can do that. So we will certainly ask that question again when we get there. As far as the electricity outages are concerned, we can't give you answers. We're not plugged in with them on a daily basis. We could certainly follow up with them. But I do know that with the SCADA system that's being implemented, as well as the Docrra power station, that there's a lot of upgrade that's happening at substations and metering upgrade in particular, because that's where a lot of the problems are with electricity losses. So we're pushing hard on SCADA, we're pushing hard on electricity losses, and that's where the upgrades happen. It would be nice, however, if they constantly warned us like a week beforehand, so that we know and we can plan accordingly. And Ken will certainly follow up on that again. I'll ask the electricity committee to look into it, and maybe we can give you some more feedback, but it is frustration. Yes, Flip.
Wait, I just have two minutes to answer on that. Regarding the upgrades that was done at the substation, we've got an old infrastructure in the whole of Polito, and let's just live with that. They are busy trying to fix this old stuff, and that unfortunately takes time. So the days that Ken has been talking about was the upgrading and replacement of the actual breakers. So ABB came in, they had the contract, replaced that. The updates today unfortunately took longer, and that was a further upgrade of some things. And there's one more or two more days coming, Ken, and I think we've been having the week at least warnings that it's coming.
Have we?
Yeah. So from our side, the outages that's been happening in Salt Rock today is a breakdown. That is something else. That cannot be unplanned. Okay. But the outages has been warned. We have been saying, guys, there's a planned outage. Unfortunately, they just ran out of time. I was sitting here still now. The things only came on, and so people still being switched on as we sit here. But it's upgrades that are happening, and they're not fixing everything. And I do feel sorry for the guys working on the ground. So as I say, there's 2 more days coming that we have to prepare for, wherever that's going to be, next month, next 2 weeks, whatever, and that will be addressed. Just bear with the guys. Get yourself organized, get yourself solar. That's it. We cannot rely for the whole country, and this is not just South Africa. It's a whole worldwide thing. The whole infrastructure. When we got electricity 50 years ago, it was great. Let's implement it. Everything is old. And we are growing and growing and growing. This whole substations and demand for electricity is growing, and the new stuff is just taking so much longer to arrive. Thanks.
From the chairman of our electrical committee, thank you very much. Thank you, Phil.
Talk to someone sensible about solar.
Upstream further activities. I'd like to speak quickly on expanding into our neighboring townships. I mentioned it a bit earlier that the team from Ward 8 had approached us, and every Thursday morning I spend an hour to an hour and a half in the car with Palani, whom I'm going to ask to come and say a few words right now. And we travel to various soup kitchens, and we go and deliver soup in Okobongo, mainly, some in Shaka's Kraal, and in Shayamoya. What I've learned, and I just want to share this before I call Palani just to come and say a few words, is that in our part of the world where we've got a ward councillor, we've got a ward committee, our ward councillor works with us. And our ward councillor helps to solve problems for everybody. And our ward councillors help to maximize the use of municipal facilities. So whether that's a library or whether that's a school hall or whatever the case is. And I thought that's how it should be. Until I got into Kobongo. And I discovered that if you're a councillor there, then all the municipal assets becomes your kingdom. And you control that with a tight fist. You get security companies to put fences around it. And I've discovered libraries full of books that are locked up, and soup kitchens that are locked up, and community halls that are not allowed to use with a 6-meter fence. And these are locked up by those councillors, and they hold those municipal facilities to ransom. And I got livid. And we've spoken to the mayor, we've spoken to the speaker, we've spoken to the municipal manager. We're now waiting for a meeting with the chief whip. But in the meantime, we started working with these guys to start unlocking, and Palani may tell us about one or two of those successes that we're already achieving to try and unlock that. But imagine that those facilities that we have paid millions for, taxi ranks, beautiful, brand new, the paint is still shining. It's got a fence around it and a security guard, and they use it as a car park at night for 4 buses. And that's it, not allowed to be used. There's a little area to sell food. There's an area, there's creche. I don't want to carry on. It's not only there, it's also in Shaka's Head. And Mgeni is here tonight, and Tabani. I'm delighted to see you guys. I went then to the community hall and I said, how do we get this facility? No, sorry, that's the councillor's place and that's his creche and that's the... It's just unbelievable. So we need, and that's right next door, huh? It's 10 kilometers away. Palani, up to you. Do you want to stand over there? Is that easier for you to speak there?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pilani, as Dion has mentioned, and I'm from Kobongo, and I represent a business forum that has collaborated with Docrra. Collaboration, yeah, that's a big word. It's love at first sight with you, Docrra. There was a great man who taught me that whatever we're doing in the community, it's like we're filling a jar of water. Every time when we're filling this jar, everyone depends on this water. So whenever this water is finished on this jar, it has to be filled because tomorrow they will come and ask for water again. So there was a great man who taught me that every time I must keep on going, baby steps. Every time I must keep that jar full. So that's us and Docrra. I thank a lot to Dolphin Coast Waste Management and Docrra. We're having a soccer tournament, a very big soccer league that we are under KBF, Kobongo Business Forum. We've got about 500 kids that are playing in that league. And we thank you, Dolphin Coast Waste Management, for sponsoring us this Easter. We know that it was hard for us to get the sponsor, but through you and Docrra, our collaboration, you made it through. And we thank you to whoever, you said the Lions from Richards Bay, they gave my Gogo a brand new wheelchair. That was very touching to me. I have to thank you all guys for everything that you've done for us as Nkobongo, as Business Forum. I know Business Forum, those words, they are kind of scary, but to us, we are different kind of Business Forum. We are helping community. We are trying to make everyone feel as if part of family. Thank you.
I often say to Palani, he says he's learning so much from me. I'm learning a massive amount from him as well on how the community hangs together, how they communicate, how it is most interesting. And I think you guys, Tommy, Moffat, you guys are doing a fantastic job, and our regards to Temba as well. And we look forward to carrying on and expanding what we're doing with you guys. Just last week, Thursday, We heard that eventually the main hall was open for kids to use and to play in during the school holidays, something that's never happened. Our next aim is to get the kitchen open so that we don't have to serve cold soup to the needy. And the one after that, my wife has promised me she'll help me with the library. That's her speciality because we want to get that open and we've got books and so on for them. But we need to find the key and get the permission to open it. We'll get there. Okay, we did a lot of work with the IDP representation, especially at ward-based. And we're in Ward 22, so I want to give a good shout out to our councillor, Privy, who's here tonight. When we first saw the budget in April of last year, we had 0 capital for the next year because it was an austere budget and there wasn't enough money. But typical Privy, and with a little bit of nudging from our side, she went and fought for, firstly, the savings on the underspending for the previous year. And that came to 4 million. And they were going to gooi it in some other miscellaneous account. And she went and fetched it and brought it back. So we got the 4 million back and then went and argued for some more. And I think at the end of the day, we're over 7 or 8 million that we've got for our ward to be spent. So delighted. So a lot of that happens at ward-based level. And I know that that's happening at the other wards as well. Community collaboration, we've spoken about expanding our strength in community, expanding communication. So it is a pleasure to get the chairperson for communication and membership, Mary, to come and give us a quick rundown on all the tech stuff that you did this year for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dion. My name is Mary. I sort of run our operations here at Docrra, but I have a special focus on communications and on membership. So with that being said, again, I want to thank all of our members here tonight in our member residential estates. We take the trust that you put in us very seriously when we go to represent you at all of these stakeholder forums. If you're not wearing a proud Docrra member sticker tonight, it's my job, the fun job of trying to convince you to part with your money. But before I do that, I'm going to give a little bit of an update on communications. So we are not a business, we're an NPO, but if we had a product that we're selling, our product is information. Over the last 2 years, we've rapidly and widely expanded our content across all social media platforms, in addition to keeping our website up to date with regular blogs and uploads. Like Dion mentioned earlier, we're working with a professional design team and a social media manager, which has been great because it's freed up our volunteer time to focus on sourcing, writing, and producing that content that you eventually see in our social media posts and in our blog posts. At any given moment, there's a lot going on. So we have KDM budget and annual financial analysis. Recently, we've sent out a lot of information about voter registration and about election day guidance. I don't know whether any of you saw our updates about waiting times at polling stations on the queue. So we're looking to do that again in 2026, which is a municipal election. And we also share notices for community events that come up. And we report back from council meetings, but I would love to hear from you as well about what type of content and what type of information you want to see more of on our social media platforms. You can follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on Facebook, and I'd encourage you to join our spam-free WhatsApp group by scanning the QR codes that are around the room. That brings me to membership. Our big project that we've worked on, and Dion mentioned this, is our online membership platform. Part of our success is that we have a large number of households subscribed as members through residential estates and through gated complexes, and they make up the majority of our membership base. And it's always been a challenge for us to sign up individual members in freestanding homes throughout the Dolphin Coast. Our solution to tackle this was to launch a fully automated online membership platform. It's quick and easy. We have multiple membership options, and you can pay using multiple payment methods. For less than the cost of a cappuccino per month, you can help us to continue to deliver information, access, influence, and accountability to preserve this wonderful place where we all live, work, and play. One of our strengths, as Dion already mentioned, is that we are fiercely independent. We're 100% member funded. We have no corporate sponsorships. We're apolitical, and we represent you without fear or favor. Good Governance Africa. Dion got academic, so I'm going to get academic for a second as well. Good Governance Africa published their 2024 Governance Performance Index. This is a measure of the health of our municipalities in South Africa. And the author stated that research indicates that within diverse societies like South Africa, economic development is best facilitated by a capable state and a citizenry to hold that state accountable. Your membership facilitates a coalition of actors within this structure of co-governance, as Julia spoke about. You're probably already participating in co-governance without even knowing it. If you send your children to a private school, if you subscribe to a private medical aid, or if you have private security at your home or at your business, you're already paying a private company to fill a gap where government capacity is lacking. Docrra fills the gap in municipal oversight as an unbiased watchdog. Docrra is the only officially recognized representative ratepayers organization for the south of Quadukhuza. We're the only organization with a dedicated quarterly meeting with KDM, and that's with both the political and administrative leadership. We're the eyes, the ears, and the voice of the Dolphin Coast. We're in IDP and budget and visas, we're at MPAC, and we're at council meetings, and every other forum that allows for public participation. We sit at the table where decisions are made, but we need your support to be able to stay there and to bring more influence to bear on our policymakers. Make your voice heard. Don't wait for there to be a crisis to join Docrra. Join our community of active citizens today and help us continue the work that we're doing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now, or you can come and approach me afterwards when we have our drinks and snacks together. So do I have any questions around the room? Yes, please.
Hi, Mary.
Hello.
My name is Keith Bonsall. I have an apology to make to Docrra. I've lived in the area for 11 years. I've known of Docrra, and as a result of an owner at Brettonwood Estate, I've become a member. I'm terribly embarrassed to say this is the first meeting I've attended.
Well, you're here now.
I'm actually in awe of what you're doing, what's been achieved. And when I saw the financials, I thought you'd left out a comma. I can't believe that you're doing this on such a meager, miserable budget. I understand that everybody is volunteers, it's fantastic, and it's wonderful, and the commitment that everybody makes. But ultimately, everything that you're doing needs some money. And I know that I won't be popular by saying this, but somewhere along the line, there needs to be an increase in the subscription that we pay, because it's absolutely petty cash. It really is petty cash. And look, we're not poor here. We're not poor. We are in an affluent society. Ballito is growing so rapidly. 40 to 50 new families are coming in every month. We need to have a voice, and that voice can only become a voice with some financial capacity behind it, even though the volunteers are not paid anything, and that's wonderful to do that. But at the end of the day, you've got to put a comma in that, in those numbers there.
Thank you so much. Would you like a job? I've got openings.
If I might take one other, I have another concern. Ballito is a holiday resort. As much as it's becoming a residential resort, it is a holiday resort, and with the Tinley Manor and the big estates being built, etc. I'm seriously concerned about the Uber and the taxi relationship. The people that run Quadakuza are the taxi bosses. I see that almost on a daily basis, and I travel into Belito and into Mshlanga on a regular basis. And just yesterday, I saw a gentleman, dare I say gentleman, with a semi-automatic rifle over his shoulder on the exit ramp of the N2 to Belito. And there were two SUVs that had sandwiched a poor blue BMW. And the people in the SUVs were pulling the guy out of the car on this off-ramp in public. The two SUVs then drove off, and I followed them because I was going down to the Belito village. And they went at speed. One of the vehicles had aerials on the top, and I thought, well, maybe they're not police because there's no blue lights. There's no flashing lights, and maybe there's security. But I believe that they were taxi bosses, the security. And they went down to the Belito village, and they addressed and seemingly attacked, and I say this in inverted commas, a poor guy, a poor Uber guy outside the SPCA. Now, as a resident of the area and having family, etc., and in this area, who runs the taxi organizations? Is it the taxi bosses that run our Ubers that tell us what to do? There have been so many questions on social media, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, where international visitors are waiting for an hour for an Uber to arrive, and they can't arrive because the taxi bosses have said, you can't go and pick up that person because you're not a member of our organization. You've got to pay to be a member. Now, obviously, there's certain regulations, etc., but I'm more concerned about the security aspect. Who runs Quadakuza? Who runs Belito?
Yeah, this certainly has been an issue recently, the sort of standoff between our taxis, between Ubers, and there's also been some conflict between business owners who are transporting their employees from their place, from their residence into our area to do their jobs. I know that this issue is in hand within our security cluster, and I'm going to allow those who are on a security subcommittee to answer you more thoroughly when we have our drinks later. But thank you for raising that issue.
Mary, just a very quick one, and it should be on your screen, I think. Just remind everybody what the 12 or 13 cappuccinos worth of subscription a year cost. How much are people expected to pay, particularly those who are not in estates?
Yes.
I mean, you've done wonderful work with the estates, but I fear that there are large numbers of non-estate dwellers, common or garden ones like myself, who are not members. And just tell them what it would cost them a year.
Sure. So we have 3 membership options. You can have a monthly subscription, and that's 30 rands per month. So I think most places will charge you probably more than 30 rand for a cappuccino these days. I had some people in the business. I know what it costs. And then we have 2 other options. So we have a once-off annual payment, which is 390 rand per year. And then we have an annual renewable option. So this requires you to put your credit card details in. It's 360 rand for the year, and it will automatically renew at the end of 12 months. So this is one of the reasons, or one of the ways rather, that we're trying to address funding continuity, which is something that Julia's touched on. I believe that Alta have a great system where they use debit orders, but we knew that maybe our community are not ready yet for debit orders. So this is sort of a middle ground for us to address some of those long-term funding sustainability issues. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank Docrra for the meeting tonight. It's been phenomenal, and seeing the people around. My name's Stephanie Ashworth. I would like to just raise a few issues. Anybody here under the age of 45? I rest my case. My second issue. We talk about the informal settlement that happened at Ward 4. This happened way before COVID. Everybody ignored it. And we are now sitting with a very hot potato. I've got to reiterate this gentleman tonight about the taxis. We are ignoring the situation at our own detriment. We are being held to ransom. I am unable to get an Uber from my house to my restaurant and back to my house again because the taxis are holding us to ransom. If we're going to continue playing ostrich with our heads in the sand and ignore this issue and try and play politics, we are going to lose sadly. And I think it is about time the residents take a stand, and if it takes all of us in this room now to write a petition, to send something to SAPS, half of them who are implicated, half of them are, maybe not as many as half. I stand to be corrected. It is my opinion that there are many SAPS guys implicated in the taxi issues. We have got to claim our town back from the taxi drivers. And then the one thing I would like to request, Docrra, is that maybe free membership is considered to areas like Shark's Head and Shayamoya and many other areas where they cannot afford membership. So maybe if we could just get a representative from those areas to represent those areas, membership free, to get some more kind of inclusivity into the Ballito area. I thank you.
Thank you. So I want to address, I can assure you that we don't have our head in the sand about the taxi situation, nor have we ignored the informal settlements issue since 2019. It's been on our agenda for our quarterly meetings for some time now, but like Dion stated earlier, there are challenges related to that relationship between national government, provincial government, and what happens here on the ground when it comes to human settlements and housing. On the third point about free membership for certain communities, we've already sponsored some members from selected communities to become fully fledged Docrra members. We took that decision as an executive committee because we do want to have Docrra become an inclusive organization. It's actually something that we reworked in our vision and mission statement, I believe 2 years ago. It's wonderful to be working with Tami, Pilani, Moffat, Temba, and the rest of our team in Nkobongo. We're learning more from them, I think, than they are from us. They have an amazing amount of energy, and the word is spreading to other communities about the work that they are doing on the ground in Nkobongo. So I don't think it's going to be long before you're going to see Docrra chapters popping up in other wards, such as Shayamoya and Shaka's Crawl and those places. So stay tuned, watch this space. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much for all your work you've been doing. I appreciate it, and I have been a member, but I haven't paid up, so I will pay when I get home.
Okay, we'll give you your sticker soon.
Okay. Thanks for the gentleman. Thanks for the gentleman that's spoken now, because I was going to bring that about the taxis.
Yeah.
My staff were taken off at the circle near Boxer in Chalkers Crawl with guns, and I said, please go and report it to the police. They said, no, they will be harassed forever. That was one of them. Then what are our protection services doing? Because all they're doing is they like hassle services. Why aren't they at the robots stopping people coming through red robots? Now everybody is starting to go through red robots. The other thing is taxis going on the left lane, and it actually, my blood boils, and I swerve over, and I nearly actually reversed after trying to do that because I'm panicking. We have to do something about these taxis, because everybody Everybody is starting to do what taxis do.
I think we've heard you loud and clear on taxis. I think one of the great things about having these events is to be able to interact and hear what issues matter to the community most. So I can assure you that that'll go on our agenda for our next quarterly meeting. Like I said, our security cluster is already working on this.
Sorry, one thing.
Yeah.
Why don't we have diesel trains to bring staff from Stanger to Tongaat? It's not broken. The railway line is still there because there are 3 trains come through every day from Richards Bay to Durban.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm going to hand back over to Dion.
I wanted to add something. Thanks. I think this is an example exactly of community conversation. So as Docrra and a residents association, we've been aware of the taxi problem, assuming that it is being handled by business, assuming that it's being handled by UIP, assuming that it's being handled by community policing forums. And I'm not saying they're not doing it, but we will now, because we've been requested by you, go and interact with those various structures and find out what's happening, and then we can give you feedback. Because I am sure that there's a lot of work that's going in through those structures, community policing forums, and addressing those. Now, they are present here tonight, so they're hearing me, but I don't want to put them on the spot because we didn't prepare for it and we don't have any further answers. But the community has spoken, we have heard, we will certainly go and find out from the different structures how that we can follow up on that. Okay, thank you. If I can move on, because I think we all need a drink. So we've just been talking about upstream issues. We also have what we call a lot of downstream issues. The upstream issues are really those things at a senior level or a regional level that we're trying to tackle. But at the downstream level, we have, as we said, the different 40 volunteers. There are all the subcommittees that we have. If you want to serve on any of them, please let us know. And if you think we're missing one, tell us which one and come and start it for us. KDM Finance, Safety, Security, Membership, Communication, our charity outreach, the environment, water and waste, electricity, infrastructure, Western areas, and Ward 8. We serve on the various ward committees. I've spoken about that before. And downstream stuff are typically taxis, street lights, traffic lights, roads, potholes, verges, waste, and those are the issues that those committees tackle on a regular, I don't want to say daily, but weekly basis. We handle a lot of membership queries, and we've got a membership benefits card. There's a QR code that you can scan. Lots of companies that are offering us discounts, and it's a good way to keep business local to our local businesses. Some of the big issues that we're busy working on at the moment. Firstly, outdoor advertising. Those big, ugly neon TV signs that blind you at traffic lights is one of them. There are many of them, but it's also the type of advertising that's taking place on them. It's a passion of the ladies on our committee, and they have already drafted documents. We've been in touch with the municipality, and that's an ongoing issue that we're trying to resolve. The next one is that our new board member, John Wallace, did a very detailed survey on speed humps and what are the correct speed humps for the correct calming measures that you require, and are the speed humps built to spec. Very comprehensive document. Just before the election, we sent it through to the Executive Director of Safety and Security, who then promptly sent it to the Metro, who then promptly sent it to somebody else. So we need to go and follow up now after the election, what has happened there and what feedback we're going to get there. Another one that John has understood, and John, remind me, which bylaw was it? That there's a lot of bylaws at the moment that's being changed and considered, and you've, I forgot the name when I did this. Is John here still? Yes, sir. Bylaw on informal trading. Informal trading, thank you. So there's a new bylaw on informal trading. John has pulled it apart for us. We've got a proposal that's going to go to give them feedback on what we believe on that. So if you need to know anything about it, John's your man to speak to. Our last item, just before I go to outreach, is recently my wife Megan is very involved with schools and building libraries. And there's one at Sarasvati that she's been involved with in Fraser's. And the community helped break the transformer, and the school's been without electricity for a year. One of the things that she did is got hold of Flip, and she did many things, but one of the things she got hold of Flip, and Flip then introduced us to Eric Bott. And we've asked Eric Bott to give us really just a bit of background of what he does. He's a forensic electrical engineer, independent, so he goes and sees whether you are building too much or too little, and how to fix those things. So I've asked Eric to please come and tell us who he is, and so that you can see him and that you can with him afterwards. Eric, where are you, sir? There you are. It should be up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Bott. I do forensic audits on electricity. As you can see, that the council is stating that they're running around about 262 million rand worth of losses. Those losses are, if you take it into account, it's actually mostly businesses. So where they're going to get the money from is they're going to start replacing all your meters. And the thing that we've noticed is that your meters are being replaced, but the meters that they're installing, especially with people that have got solar, aren't going to be beneficial to you. So what actually happens is that instead of you seeing a reduction, you're more than likely going to see an increase in your electricity bill, because the meter automatically identifies the reverse as a mistake, and it just adds it on, so your bill goes up instead of going down. So that's one of the problems. So it's important to know that the correct meters are installed. So when your solar guy does it, there's a specific form that he must fill in, and let him do it. Let him do it from his side. There's a meter to be installed. Let them put the right meters in. Flip is from Docrra. He does a very good meter at a very good reasonable rate that accommodates all of that. There's quite a large number of the municipalities at the moment that are going around to some of the estates and saying, listen, we've had a look at your account, it's all wrong, and you owe us either $1 million or $2 million. And unfortunately, it's also not the case. There's bylaws in place that the way the calculations and all that must be done. So if you have those sort of problems, you can contact me. I can help you out and point you in the right direction in that point of view. Tariff structures is the main problem. We don't want to be in the position. We actually very fortunate in Belita is that we got one of the cheapest electricities in the country. If you take the likes of Johannesburg, they close on 38% higher than us. So if you have a look at just our basic charges now, the latest, I think it's 58 Rand, their basic charge is just under 400. So it makes a big difference. So once we start looking at tariffs, we're going to have to start looking at very carefully. Otherwise, what's going to happen? We haven't got a proper tariff engineer here. It's going to go working on cost of supply. So if the cost of supply study is not done, NERSA is not going to approve a tariff. And that's going to be the big thing. So I work very closely with NERSA, and most of my work actually comes from NERSA, where I get involved I'm the intermediary between the council and the consumer, and I'm there. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. Unfortunately, the business that are stealing, I'm also going to catch you, and you're going to pay up. Because at the end of the day, all the residents are covering your costs and paying for your big fat houses, so I'm going to be looking for you as well. So it's going to work both ways. But what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. We want everybody to pay not 1 cent more or 1 cent less than what's actually due to the council. So if anybody wants any questions, you're more than welcome to have a chat with me at the back. And thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eric, thank you very much. Can I just ask you a quick question? Prepaid meters and the shenanigans that happened there. Have you got any comment on that? Because it seems that there are something like 14 companies that are doing prepaid metering, and there seems to be a lot of bad practices there.
Unfortunately, prepaid meters actually have got a very bad name at the moment. If we could just follow prepaid meters, the actual guys are making the money are the prepaid guys, because that money doesn't go to the council. A percentage of the actual sale on the prepaid goes to the company. So it varies anything from 5% to 14%. So, which is fairly steep if you have a look at the amount of meters that they've actually got for just doing a sale. There's no interaction with you or whatsoever. What we're trying to do is we changed the law. I went and changed the law together with a few other guys. My friends here from Outer, they were involved with us as well. We stopped when a mistake happened on an account. We forced nurses to change. Before it used to say that you had to pay your account first, then we'd go and look at it. We went and changed that to what was reasonable, and they declared a dispute for the amount, and then work from there. If we follow Western, where we can have other areas, what actually happens is at the moment the municipality is the player and the referee. So it's a big problem for us. So if we could start changing slowly and working where you actually have the meter reader is supplying the consumer and the person that gets the money, and he has to cover a small percentage, whatever he's charging, to have insurance. If any mistakes take place, insurance claim gets against the actual company. You're going to have a lot more accurate readings, and you're not going to have what's happening in this country at the moment.
You. Eric, thank you very much. How do we get hold of you? We've got a telephone number. So,
yeah, your doctor's got all my contact details and that, and more than likely your ladies in the office will just get hold of me.
Super.
Thank you.
Eric, thank you. Another round of applause for him. Thank you very much. Ladies and gents, our last slide. This is a passion of ours, and a big shout out to, firstly, my wife, Megan, who's sitting in the front here, who helps us to coordinate a massive initiative. And Karen Dufton is in the audience, and she started this initiative during COVID. And Karen, did you believe it will grow to this? So we currently, in our 4th year, we at about 3 tons of soup a month at the moment. That just roughly translates into 10,000 meals. That happens every month. The reason we do frozen home-cooked soup is it's non-corruptible. Doesn't have a street value, can't be sold. There's no intermediary. So it is the best nutrient and the quickest way we can get a proper, good, solid meal. It's served with their choice of starch. So it's samp, pap, bread, or rice. And it makes a very nourishing meal. We are operating in 8 different soup kitchens at the moment. The further south is Fraser's with the Smile Foundation. Then we come up to Nkobongo, where we assist the NOAA Center from time to time. We work with the Gogo Flow Center from the Catholic Church St. Vincent de Paul. We help them. And then my friend Polani that keeps chasing me around to various different places in Nkobongo and Chaimoy to go and deliver. We also do clothes and provide dry goods, soups collected, distributed on a monthly basis. And we are very grateful. In the audience here, we have big producers and regular producers of what we call our smaller soups. So our smaller soups is our yogurt tubs or ice cream tubs, or we've got a stack of 5-liter tubs that we get from a Domino's pizza friend of ours. And those soups goes to 2 places. One is it's our emergency stash for when the tornado comes around. Then we can quickly deploy and get those soups directly to those people. So we keep an emergency stash. But they go to our orphans in Tembeni. There's 109 kids that live in 20 houses that's been built by the municipality. Each of them's got a mother, and each of them have got 5 or 6 kids, and the houses are all clustered together in an area. And we've got one Makulu mother there, and we've got a freezer in her kitchen, and we distribute to them, and they distribute to the other 20. And it's been a great help. So I would like to just continue with this, what we call the smaller soups, because subsequent to this, we've now gone to bigger suppliers, and we've got some companies sponsoring us, and we've got some real big supplier giving us about 400 liters of soup a week that we collect. So it's really a great initiative. And this is, as I say, an initiative that we would like to collaborate with the municipality a lot for. But it's heartwarming stuff, and from the Dolphin Coast community to those in need. So thank you to everybody that participates in that. I'm going to ask Mary to do a few closing comments, and the drinks are not getting hot yet, but they will, and the food's getting cold, so we need to break. But Mary, over to you. Thanks.
Sure. So I just want to do a few thank yous before we close and have a drink together. Julius, thank you so much for coming all the way from Joburg. The perspective that you've given us on what's happening on the wider stage in South Africa is really invaluable, and we value our collaboration with you. I want to thank Nikki, who's the events coordinator at Salt Rock Country Club, and her entire team for this beautiful facility and how accommodating they've been to us. I have a couple, yes. I want to highlight a couple of local businesses. At the very back of the room there's a guy in a black shirt. His name is Andrew Bigley. He's a proud North Coast resident, and his company is called 25-1. We have him to thank for our beautiful audiovisual setup this evening. So thank you so much, Andrew. I also want to thank Tracy and Ty Hill from CodeSource. When I have a technical issue or when I need to make something work on the website, most recently our petition to bring back Shamir, they are who I call. They're always there for me, and I deeply appreciate all the support that they've given to us. I want to thank our counselors who have come through tonight. I also want to thank our Inkabongo crew. You guys are awesome. Your energy is amazing. We're learning so much from you. I want to give a special thanks to Brian for coming through on his holiday. We can't wait to have you back once your contract is up in the Cayman Islands. And I want to also give a special thank you to Stephanie Walker, she'll hate me for doing this. She's sitting back there at the registration table, but she's our executive. So she is our executive officer. She keeps us organized and keeps everything running smoothly. She's the mother of us all. I also want to thank the entire Docrra executive committee and everybody who serves on our subcommittees. I'm so proud to be working and collaborating with this amazing group of people who have service at heart to this community. So let's just give one more round of applause for all of our volunteers here. And that concludes our program for tonight. I'm looking forward. Yes, can I help you?
Whilst you're on thank yous,
yes.
Can I give you, Dion, Brian, and your committee, Ken, and your previous committees, thank you for voting and giving us a platform on that. Yeah. And therefore, we can look at it. Move away from being thank you.
So I think that concludes our program. I'm not sure what Dion's up to.
Something. So we can't not say thank you to my left hand and my right hand at Docrra. Stephanie, can you please come up here, please? I know she hates that, but sorry for that. There's some more in the back that goes with this, but I couldn't carry all of it. Stephanie, big thank you. And then a big thank you to Mary, who keeps us on our toes. I have to dump the podium and dump the computer, and it's been a great success. Your ideas have worked, so a very special thank you. Not only for tonight. And then to the wind beneath my wings, my wife. It's very rare that I can give her flowers in front of everybody else. But thank you. Thank you very much. Drinks are in the house. The first one. maybe more, and snacks. Thank you very much for coming.